We have a superpower, I think, at Thomson Reuters that we've never talked about, which is our purpose.
Hello, and welcome to On Purpose. Today, I'm joined by CEO and President of Thomson Reuters, Steve Hasker. Welcome, Steve.
Hi, Kristin. It's great to be here.
So I'm sure everybody can notice from your voice that you are from Australia. So talk to me a little bit about being Australian and how that sort of shaped you as a leader.
Well, I think as most people probably know, the Australian culture is one of directness, but also pretty relaxed frame of mind. And I like to think that characterizes my leadership style. I suspect that members of my team may differ on occasion, but it's certainly, I'm proud of my Australian heritage and like to bring that to work every day.
Well, I know in the beginning part of your career, went pretty well. You had many years, obviously, as a partner in consulting and strategy consulting. But then you took the deep dive into corporations, and you were in some, challenging situations, certainly across the digital media tech platform at Nielsen and others. Talk to me a little bit about that journey through those roles and what you learned from it.
Yeah, so I enjoyed almost a dozen years at McKinsey and was a partner there and loved it. One day I was approached by Dave Calhoun, who at that point had just taken the role to lead what was one of the biggest LBOs in history at Nielsen. And Dave said, look, you should leave McKinsey, you should come to Nielsen. And the reason you should do that is I will teach you how to be an operator. And I'd always sort of thought that at some point I'd like to operate businesses and learn how to do that. And the opportunity to do that with someone who had his apprenticeship under Jack Welch and Larry Bossidy and the folks at GE was just an opportunity too good to pass up. But one of the things that Dave always impressed upon me, and this was a sea change from the consulting environment, was the importance of momentum. So I remember sort of describing, okay, Dave, here's where we need to go from a product perspective and a market perspective, and this is sort of the strategy and the answer. And Dave literally looked me in the eye and he said, look, that all sounds great, Steve, but what you need to do is you need to get us some momentum today. Because if you can get us some momentum today, better things will happen tomorrow. Customers will come, talent will come, and then that future will start to become a reality. But if you're planning this sort of perfect strategy years in advance, we may never get there. So go out and get some momentum.
The other thing that really struck me about you was your willingness to disrupt, but in a way that brought the organization with you, to continue to look to evolve. You never seemed happy with the status quo. And I think for a company like Thomson Reuters that is so integral to the tech space, to the media space, that was going to be critical. So talk to me a little bit about how you built that ability.
And I think the easy part is sort of, in a sense, putting a little bit of pressure on an organization and trying to move it forward. I think the hard part is figuring out what the right cadence and pace is. So how much pressure at various times. And that, I think, has been the hardest part about the pandemic. We announced a change program at the start of 2021, so sort of in the height of the pandemic. And a number of colleagues said to me, Steve, we've got enough to do with our day jobs and looking after our families in this circumstance. To layer on a change program at the same time seems too much. And so I went home and thought about that night after night and concluded that we had no choice. Our customers were not going to wait for us because they were being disrupted. And so we needed to drive that change program. But it did help sort of modulate how fast we could go. And it helped really create the impetus for a set of investments in employee health and well-being that perhaps we wouldn't have otherwise made.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that I think has had a big impact is your focus on purpose at Thomson Reuters and refreshing that. Because as organizations evolve, the purpose evolves at a certain point. Talk to me a little bit about the process by which you came about with your new purpose of informing the way forward.
One of my colleagues calls Thomson Reuters the biggest company that nobody has ever heard of. I mean, obviously the Reuters brand.
I thought that was Zoetis, Steve. I have to tell you, I thought that was Zoetis, but okay.
We have a superpower, I think, at Thomson Reuters that we've never talked about, which is our purpose. So if you think about what we do as a business, we are a leading provider of information and solutions to lawyers, to tax and accounting professionals, to risk, fraud and compliance professionals, government agencies, and news outlets. And we play a critical role in functioning societies. We help the world be informed, particularly in places where it is difficult and dangerous to do so. We have reporters on the ground today in Ukraine reporting that story, shooting video, taking photographs, and making sure that the broader population understands exactly what's going on there. We have, in a sense, a higher calling, and it's to inform the way forward. And it's really to create truth and transparency and help strengthen the foundations of society. It gives me a reason and more excitement to be at Thomson Reuters. And in this environment, with an incredible war for talent going on, it's proven to be, in its early going, a real differentiator for us. So we're very excited about it.
Well, look, I want to thank you so much, Steve, for joining me today. I love your new purpose statement, Inform the Way Forward. There's no doubt that resonates with all of your colleagues, and I'm sure your customers as well. So thank you for joining me for On Purpose, and thank you for listening today to On Purpose. I hope you join us again next month.